everybody. Welcome to Tailgating with Lot C. This is our first podcast for the channel that we're going to be trying out doing here. Today we're going to be serving up some food for thought on Double Masters and M21, and as well as doing a little bit of an introduction to who we are and what we're all about. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Joe. I like to play Izzet, and I like to sling small mana spells, and I have my counterpart here, if you'd like to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, it's Mark. I don't know if you've watched the channel before, but I've done the audio on the so far deck techs we've done, such as the Croxa Midrange or the Craburo. I also play a lot of Magic, specifically Modern, and I enjoy playing decks such as Rakdos Midrange and Mitotic Pyromancer, formerly before the banning of Faithless Looting, RIP, as well as other variant decks such as Grixis Pyromancer as well, and then I dabble in various other colors.
His intro was a little bit more thought out than mine, I guess.
A little bit fleshed out, but what is...
That's all right.
It's gonna be
I'm a simple guy. All right. So some of the things that we want to talk about here at the beginning is what we want to do with our channel and where we want to go with it to start out with. So what is your first idea of what our channel is and what you want to do with it?
Well, so far it's just more of a pet project, as we've discussed. We're obviously not a big channel that's making any sort of money with 7 subscribers, although 500 views on a video is decent for an introduction with no promo. Humble brag. However, it's just maybe in the future something farther goes down the line with it, but right now we obviously know both of us. We like to talk a lot about Magic. We like to share our ideas. We like, building modern decks, commander decks, and playing them out in proxies or at local LGSs. So that's just the beginnings of the channel so far for me.
Right. Yeah, I like to just build decks and just come up with random brew ideas. So that's where the first few videos of the channel kind of come from, is just thinking up interesting deck ideas with some of the new cards that were coming out for different formats, be it Pioneer or Modern, which we've done. And just kind of put my love for Magic into another hobby. I enjoy a lot of tech things, doing things on the computer, whether it's Photoshop or Premiere or something like that. So using this as a project to integrate the two hobbies is something that I'm looking forward to doing. So with the introductions set aside, I'd say we move on to the first topic of this podcast, which would be Double Masters.
Yes, Double Masters. The return of Master Sets. We never think we saw them come back, but here we are. Right. Doubling season, Blightsteel Colossus.
They said they were done with Master Sets, and it seems that they were in a way. They're coming back with Double Masters, which is supposed to be different than Masters, I guess.
It seems that profit line was just too tempting for them to not bring them back. And honestly, so far, I understand. I mean, I'm a happy customer of it. I'm probably going to invest some money into it. I mean, all the reprints so far are $50 or more as far as individual single buying, so I can't say I'm complaining, and I'm expecting a lot more in the future based upon core sets previews so far of really nice, expensive commander cards. Definitely. Or hopefully modern cards, because we need some love over here, man. Modern Horizons.
We do. Yeah, Modern Horizons not coming back this year seems a little lame. Obviously, Modern being my favorite format to play. It is nice, though, that we're getting some Modern love with Double Masters here, though.
Yeah, I think that although the cards previewed are obviously more of a commander-oriented style, obviously Kalia, a huge commander, Blightsteel, much more of a big target to finish the game, and commander. However, can see in Modern in some small instances, as well as Doubling Season is strictly a commander card. You never see Doubling Season. I don't believe it's even legal in Modern, if I'm correct.
As far as I know, it's not.
So, obviously, so far it's commander product, as Wizards would be showing their hand so far, which they've done with many other sets in the past. But I'm hopeful they'll put something in there that at least can go into Modern. A Thoughtseize reprint in any of these sets would be fantastic for me.
That would be fantastic. It's something that's been needed since Pioneer came out. the price of that card skyrocketed.
I'd feel really bad because I had my playset, sold 2 of them for like $12 to invest in other cards, and now they're closer up to 30, which was, in hindsight, not the best idea.
Definitely.
However, I can get by playing Inquisition. I still have 2, so it's not the end of the world, but if I want to play GDS or any other sort of deck, I'll need them back.
Right.
But I have other people that can loan me that deck for now if I need to play it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We have a lot of GDS in our life between me playing it and my buddies. Yeah, so hopefully Double Masters has a lot more interesting cards to come for what we have seen so far. But it has a lot of really interesting cards so far.
What, Joe?
That would be M21.
Yes, Core Set 2021. I think Wizards of the Coast is finally figuring it out. Reprints are good.
Yeah, there's no Fetchland reprints yet, and we haven't seen Thoughtseize yet. But I can't complain with what I've seen so far.
Massacre Worm, Azusa, Grim Tutor, Ugin. I'm happy about all of those cards.
I'm happy about even Solemn Simulacrum. I mean, there's so many good cards in there so far.
Especially just uncommons and commons so far. The Planeswalker removal in black, sack outlets. There's something for everyone so far, it seems. And if it's not quite as in a bold statement as Core 2020 was with cards such as Veil of Summer, which didn't need in the first place in my opinion, but if they just start doing reprints consistently from now on with core sets, I think that's what they'll be intended for and should be in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, green is still looking pretty good with this set coming out, but I am excited with some of the love that they're giving some of the other colors. Definitely looking forward to a lot of these cards that are coming out for both playing them in Modern, making things like Ugin more affordable for those formats, as well as Arena for, Standard for me in Arena has been a little iffy lately. It seems like green-blue has just been dominating for the longest time, and even with some of the recent bans that they've had, still haven't been super into the Arena Standard meta lately. So I'm looking forward to how a new set's going to revitalize the meta there.
We'll see how it goes, although I'm kind of feeling bad for all you hardcore MTG Arena players, seeing as how not only will you have to deal with a playset of Dryad of the Elysian Grove on turn 3, but now you have Azusa as well, so those ramp decks not going away. Turn 3 Azusa, turn 4 Ugin, certainly possible when this set drops.
Mm-hmm.
Not looking forward to it. However, we'll see how it goes with some other cards. We still have many previews to come.
Yep, we're only, a week into previews?
I think so, and they didn't even start the previews on the Monday. I don't believe it.
It was a Thursday.
They skipped the weekend, so there's many cards to come. Hopefully, a few good ones, specifically in black.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to those. So moving on from that, one of the things we wanted to do this episode was talk about what our top 10 card list is, or top 10 cards are. Just so you guys can kind of get a better idea of who we are and what kind of players we are. So, what is your 10th card in that list?
My 10th card, as far as favorites go, is Lone Rider. Although I haven't played it in a while, I find that the art of it and just the flavor of Lifelink turning into some crazy Paul Revere-looking guy is fantastically funny to me. And also just Lifelink Trample and First Strike is a good card.
I know you always say that it looks like a Black Rider from Lord of the Rings, too. Mm-hmm. With one of the Nazgul on the back of the horses.
Right.
Definitely like the art on that one, yeah.
Spoiler alert, similar to Midnight Reaper, won't be on the list, but that card is amazing too for all you LOTR fans out there. Love that card as well.
Yeah, if you're an LOTR fan, you should be an LOTC fan too. So.
That's true. Subscribe.
All right, so for number 10, I have Snapcaster Mage. Not necessarily for the art, because there's not too much to be said about it, but certainly for the card and its text. It's a fantastic card. One of my favorite kinds of decks to play is just low mana cost, instants and sorceries, spell slinging, and I mean to be able to cast pretty much every single card in the deck twice with a creature is definitely something I enjoy doing, so I play him a lot.
He certainly feels good. I obviously have my own playset as you do. And, I mean, who doesn't love playing a spell-slinging deck, playing all those sort of bolts? Ops and all these other instant one-mana spells that get so much value in Modern is always a fun deck type to play. Unfortunately, though, no Secret Lair drop for me as far as lightning bolts go, because Wizards of the Coast can't seem to print one without curling it like a half pipe in a skate park. But
yeah, that curling on those sets have been kind of a nightmare.
Yeah,
makes you really not want to invest in them.
We can talk about the summer series later, but for now, our favorite cards give you an idea.
All right, so what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Vraska Golgari Queen.
Okay.
I am a big black MTG fan. Thoughtseize, Inquisition, all these other cards. I love playing black in all my Modern decks, and especially also in Commander. I'm a huge Aristocrat fan, and Vraska and Golgari she epitomizes the essence of Golgari. Destroying other creatures, sacking her own stuff, being able to deal with mostly any permanents on the battlefield, and then her ultimate is just a win-win. Hit anybody, they die. I love the card.
Yeah, that's true. She definitely captures that for sure. I mean, when you think about Golgari, pretty much everything that she has on her card is what you would say the color pie or color is known for sure.
Mm. What is your 8? Or your 9?
My number 9 is Blightning.
Oh.
I love hand disruption spells, and I love burn, and I'd say that Blightning pretty much perfectly combines those two things. Just being able to mess someone's hand up for them to not be able to cast what they want to, or to really need to rethink what they're going to cast based on what they have in their hand, plus just them taking that extra damage to leading toward a quicker win for me is always a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, Blightning's a fantastic card. I wish it would get a reprint here in the next couple of sets, maybe put it back into Pioneer, because it's just too pricey to play in Modern. It's the 3 CMC, it's just not quite good enough, but in Pioneer I think it could be really fun, and I'd love to play Rakdos in Pioneer. I even do. Definitely.
So what is your number 8?
My number 8, which is not a surprise for anyone that knows me, is Courser of Crewfix. Mm-hmm. I have a play mat of the card. It's such a fun card to play land ramp spells, but not necessarily in the modern sense of Primeval Titan, but just good landfall triggers in either Commander or say in a Gruul rampy deck with Ren and 6. Courser Crewfix is just such a fun card, and the life gain.
The life gain on it, I was going to say, has saved you a few times from burn decks, or just recouping some of that life that you lose from fetching or shocking.
Absolutely. It can also slot into a couple other style decks that enchantments, because people forget it's an enchantment creature, so it can go into possibly some sort of enchantress deck, whether that be in any of the 3 formats that I enjoy, Commander, Pioneer, or Modern. But
very true.
Such a fantastic card. Well, what's your number 8?
For my number 8 is actually Eternal Scourge.
Ooh, okay.
So he's a small Eldrazi. Definitely not that impressive. But it was a card that I played with a lot when I first started playing Magic. One of the first decks I made was a blue-black Eldrazi deck. And it didn't have anything fancy in it like, Ulamog or Kozilek, but it had Eternal Scourge in it, and I like to pair it with different cards that allowed me to take my graveyard and exile it, so that I could, have him be on the board, have him die, and then be able to recast him eternally, hence the name. So he's kind of a nostalgic card for me, because I used him so much at the beginning, and I just like the idea of a card that just doesn't seem to go away no matter what the opponent does.
Yeah, it certainly has a lot of flavor you don't see in too many cards in Magic. I myself have tried to build many different exile decks, but I haven't found the perfect formula yet, so I understand why you would want to play that kind of card.
Yep, definitely. All right, so what's your number 7?
My number 7, and very similar to Blightning, is Lightning Skelemental.
Okay.
Modern Horizons introduced a very good pool of fun cards, and Lightning Skelemental is, in my opinion, probably the most fun card from the set itself. I mean, Lightning on a stick at 6/1, and being able to play it in some sort of elemental tribal deck is very, very fun. I wish Faithless Looting wasn't banned in Modern, so I could build 8-ball with Ball Lightning and Lightning Skelemental. It would be such a fun card, especially with Thunderkin Awakeners printing. But it's still a very, very fun card, and the card art on it is certainly hilarious.
Yeah, it is very cool. I like the art on that one a lot. And I remember when it was first spoiled, I was really excited for that one from Horizons. So for my number 7, I have Arclight Phoenix.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, you just mentioned Faithless Looting, and I know we have a few times already in this episode, but with the banning of Faithless Looting in Modern, Arclight Phoenix really fell out, and nobody was playing him too much, but my love for him came not from Modern, where he was dominating, but from Standard, where he was still a very good card, very good deck to play in Standard, but nowhere near the magnitude that he was played at in Modern at the time.
Right, he never could reach the heights of Wilderness Reclamation in Standard either, so he never was quite broken, per se.
Right, and I don't know, there's just something I like. Obviously, I mentioned I like casting those small mana spells and just getting a lot of spells out of my hand very quickly, and obviously Arclight Phoenix's ability goes along with that perfectly. So dumping him in the graveyard and just casting all my opts and my bolts and whatever, get him out on the field and kill the opponent right away. And another reason I really liked him was recently in Standard there was a mill deck that was actually mono blue that would play him, and I just thought that was a really interesting way to win a game.
Yeah, it certainly was creative. Usually you don't see a 3-color deck being restricted to one color and banking on it, but it was certainly a risk reward but a fun deck, and shout out to Ross Marion for pioneering that archetype.
Definitely.
Unintended. So I'll move on to my number 6, and my number 6 is not quite a broken card per se, but it's certainly a funny one to me, and that's Haunt of Hightower.
Mm-hmm.
I find the card art quite hilarious. It's just a flying skeleton in the air that looks quite menacing but also funny at the same time. Just has bat wings, but it's got almost a Mongolian helmet, what it looks like, on it. And if you get them in the right deck and you mill a bunch of cards on an opponent's graveyard, that thing will go from a 3/3 to a 40/40 in a snap, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I know from personal experience, I've been beat to death by that card on Arena, by your hand and a few other people's. It can be pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an expensive card. It's definitely a bit of an underdog. Not played too often, but when you get it to work, it really works.
Oh, yeah. And it's when you lose to the card, it's almost like you have to laugh because you're just getting hit in the air with a 45/45 lifelinker, and it's just a flying skeleton. You can't quite get angry all the time at it.
Right. So for my number 6, I chose the card Pyromancer's Goggles.
Okay. I know where this is coming.
So once I moved on from the crappy Eldrazi deck, I discovered a deck archetype called Tron, and at the time mono green Tron was at the top of the meta and it was doing fantastic, but I could not afford it. I could barely afford the lands for that matter, so I opted for a much cheaper version of Tron, which was mono red, which was basically Tron mixed with Burn, and they utilized cards like Pyromancer's Goggles to absolutely annihilate someone with, Banefire or something along those lines, just to absolutely double the amount of damage the opponent was going to take and just quickly end the game. I
felt the other end of the Stuffy Doll many a time. Very cool card.
Yeah, Pyromancer's Goggles and then doubling the damage from Stuffy Doll, Blasphemous Act combo. Boom. That's 26 damage right there.
And it's certainly a lot of fun.
Definitely a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's why I chose that one.
Well, moving on to my number 5 is probably, I believe, the most recent card printed out of my top 10 list, but certainly one I think most people know, which is a Nicol Bolas Dragon God. I think that everything about the card is just awesome to me. The card art, the flavor, the power effect of it. It's just a magnificent card to me. I think that it's rivals what would be the control card that is for blue-white, which is Teferi, and I just find that Grixis Control, which is the deck I'm currently have it in, or I've almost finished building for Modern, is much more enticing and more fun to play than, say, just a standard blue-white Azorius or a Jeskai Control deck in Modern, because it's a little bit more fun to me, per se.
Definitely, yeah, he's a lot of fun. His abilities and the way he's able to steal the abilities of other planeswalkers is a lot of fun. I used him a lot in Arena when I would play Fires of Invention before its banning. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, because basically you just quickly ramp him out with Fires of Invention, and then once he's on the board, you pretty much end the game. You control the board for sure.
Yeah, he's certainly a very powerful card and very fun to me. So that's why he's in my number 5 slot.
Yeah. For my number 5, I have Worm Coil Engine.
Makes sense.
I love artifacts. I love big creatures. I love Death Touch, and I also like gaining life. And at the end of the day, if all of that doesn't work, then you've got another 2 3/3s to try to close out the game after he goes away. Worm Coil Engine is one of the best cards, I think, that has ever been printed. Certainly one of the best creatures of all time, and he's a blast of fun. He's a blast to play.
Of course.
If you get that mana and you're able to cast him, your opponent's going to have a hard time.
They better have a Path to Exile or a Swords of Plowshares for your commander players.
Right. Yeah. Once that thing is down, a simple removal spell doesn't really do the job because you get those tokens afterwards. And you're gaining life every time you're attacking, every time you're blocking. And that Death Touch ability just makes it so people don't want to block. So you end up getting through with a lot of damage. So I have a lot of fun playing with him. I also love the art. So that's why I chose Worm Coil Engine for number 5.
Yeah, it certainly is a powerful card, and the card art is magnificent, I would agree. So moving on to my number 4, I would have to say that a more of a nostalgia card for me, in some sense, is Kalidas, Trader of Get.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my first deck when I came into Magic for Modern was a Mardu Vampire deck. Now, it's not quite as good as you would think because it was absent of all fetch lands and didn't even have Kalidas in the deck. However, as far as vampires go, he's certainly my favorite, and I just find everything about him so enjoyable. I try to shove him into probably more modern decks than I should, and he just has so many cool abilities to me. The sacrificing ability, the life link,
Mm-hmm.
What people don't pay attention enough to is his exiling ability, which I think is fantastic. So whenever I can put him in the main board or sideboard of either a control deck or possibly a modern deck or a commander deck that has vampires, I try to throw him in as much as possible.
Yeah, whenever I draw into him and I'm able to play him in my vampire commander deck, he is like a lightning rod. Everyone wants to get rid of him because he's got so many fantastic abilities that you can really run away with the game with him on the board. He's definitely a great card, and that's a great choice.
Yep. So what is your number 4 then?
For number 4, I chose Faithless Looting.
Oh, makes sense.
The card is banned now in Modern, which is super unfortunate for me because I love the card. I never really did anything too broken with it, like people dumping Arclight Phoenix and stuff into the yard really fast with them.
Right.
For me, I just enjoyed things like Pyromancer or just some other random reanimate kind of decks. Nothing broken. I understand why it was banned, but I just thought it was a lot of fun. Let me be really creative with different strategies that I would play.
And enabled so many different types of decks.
Right, it really did. And the fact that it's gone doesn't really change how I feel about it. Still one of my favorite cards. Had a lot of fun playing with it when it wasn't banned. And that's why it's number 4 for me.
Understandable. It's a fantastic card, and I played many decks with it until it was banned as well. R.I.P. Mardu Pyromancer, in a sense.
R.I.P. for sure.
So, I'll move on to my number 3, which is not exactly a more powerful card, and not even a card that I would say goes into many decks, but for a specific reason, my number 3 is Mitotic Slime. Mitotic Slime, on the base card, is not quite impressive, and neither its stats nor its card art. It's just, I believe, a 4/4 that, when it dies, creates another 2/2s, and then from there it creates 4 1/1s, so it's self-explanatory. It's an exponentially dividing process, but what I like it so much is because of the specific card art that it was printed in whatever set it had. The special promo art by Ron Spencer of a more almost cartoonish blob coming through the forest, just like a wave of green ooze snatching up insects and blowing down trees, it's a beautiful card art. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Mitotic Slime by Ron Spencer. I own a playset for probably no other reason than the card art itself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even need 4 of them, but it's just so beautiful. I bought 4 when I saw it. It's such a great card to me.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta love a card just for how it looks and how fun it is, not necessarily for how powerful it is.
Of course.
So for my number 3, I chose Death Shadow.
Okay.
This is a card that I see all the time. I have a Grixis Death Shadow deck for Modern, and I have several friends who basically main Death Shadow decks, whether they're playing Jund or Grixis or, some other version of it. There's so many at this point. But I just love the idea of it. I like how it has that stipulation of needing to lose life, purposefully hurting yourself in order to get the win on the opponent. There's not very many cards like that in Magic.
No.
When you're stacking on the damage from things like Thoughtseize or cycling or fetching, and you're getting yourself right down to that brink where you're pretty close to losing until you win with Death Shadow. I just find that deck to be a lot of fun, so I think the creature's really awesome, and that's definitely why it made my top 3.
Right, whether you're at 1 or 20, as long as you win with that team or Battle Rage, doesn't matter a difference. And as you said, we've seen Grixis Death Shadow or Death Shadow itself in multiple different variants for many a year now. If you haven't seen the podcast Casting Shadows, a couple of buddies of ours are running that one. Check them out if you somehow see them first, but they know all about it and they talk about it all the time if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you're interested in playing Death Shadow, the very first video that we uploaded to the channel was a budget Death Shadow deck where we use Kiln Fiend in place of some other cards and mutagenic growth. Try to get Death Shadow deck to be functional but as cheap as we could possibly make it, which I think is pretty cool. So you guys can check that out if you're interested in playing Death Shadow for the first time.
Absolutely. It's a very fun archetype, although I may have seen it a lot. It's still just a great deck to play.
True.
All right, so I suppose I'll move on to my number 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my number 2 is, again, not exactly a card that's quite powerful, but just a very fun card to me, which is Angra the Flame Chained. The mythic 5-mana planeswalker from Rise of Ixalan. Not exactly the most power-creeping set ever released, but certainly
Definitely
a fun
not.
one nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Ixalan and Rise of Ixalan to me have such good flavor with the dinosaurs and merfolk and pirates. Such a fantastical kind of Peter Pan-style world to me, and Angrath encapsulates everything that I love about Rakdos, my favorite guild. The discard, the stealing their creatures and throwing it back at them, and the ultimate of just destroying them. It's such a fun card, and it's a Minotaur that's on fire. How can you not like it?
You got a point.
Who does not like Minotaurs on fire?
It's a pretty sweet card. I always hated playing against you when you would use it. It's super annoying. It's a lot of fun to play, though.
Absolutely.
My number 2 is nowhere near as cool. It's Opt.
Hey, fair enough.
It's a 1-mana spell, lets you check out what's on the top of your deck, and lets you draw a card. Very simple to the point, but it gets the job done. I have been kept alive a number of times because I'm able to opt and get rid of the land on top of my deck and then pull out an answer to something on the board. I've been able to hasten out a threat, something, dig for something I needed. And, of course, it gets things like Arclight Phoenix online. I don't really think you can beat the value of it for 1 mana. It's printed in almost every set that comes out, it seems. So it's always available, and I have a lot of fun playing it.
Absolutely. As Modern and other decks have shown so far in Magic, the cheaper the spell is and the more straightforward it is, usually the more powerful it becomes. And Opt is no exception to that rule. Just 1 mana instant speed, draw a card, and scry is always going to be good, I think, until the entirety of Magic, and whenever it ends. Other cards like Brainstorm and other that prove that as well. Just instant speed card, draw at 1 mana is always going to be super powerful for Magic.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it does so many things for you, positive things for you, and being able to opt on an opponent's end step just to fix your draw on the next turn is just so valuable. That's why I made number 2 for me. So moving on to number 1, what is your number 1 favorite card?
My number 1 favorite card, and it falls somewhat in the same category as Opt does, which is Young Pyromancer. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone that's listened so far and paid attention to me. But also, as a notable mention, also Seasoned Pyromancer could be thrown up there in an instance. Young Pyromancer is definitely been my favorite card ever since I've started playing Magic. Just the value of playing any instant or sorcery card, getting an elemental on the board, and then doing crazy shenanigans with that has always been super fun to me. I wish I could still play a very good variant of Mitotic Pyromancer, but I play Grixis Pyromancer in Modern, and it's still a bunch of fun to play.
Yeah, that card has always been a lot of fun. Combining small spells with go-wide strategy that he offers, as well as basically an infinite amount of blockers for anything on the board that you could have. The opponent's always going to need to be worried about you casting things, and even if they counter what you cast, you still get the trigger. So he's like an infinite value machine for sure.
Absolutely, and he's a little bit fringe at this point in Modern, where some people don't necessarily expect him coming. You know, somebody might play and John to 6, 7, or 7, 8 Tarmogoyf, but if I got a 1/1 elemental, you're not getting through.
That's very true.
It's going to be really hard to Assassin's Trophy every single one of my elementals, but you can go ahead and try. You know, he's so much fun playing with Gurmag Angler in my deck, and also playing the Royal Scions. He's a ton of fun to play, and I'm hoping he can be a little bit better, hopefully, in Modern, and see some more play. And if anyone wants a free tip, you want to play in Pioneer or in Modern, check out Young Pyromancer and Master of Waves together. You're going to have a lot of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, that deck you put together is a lot of fun with those two.
Absolutely. So what's your favorite card? I think I can guess.
My favorite card of all time in Magic is Lightning Bolt.
I didn't see it coming.
Now, I don't think there's a better card out there. I mean, it's 1 mana, 3 damage to a creature, to a player, to a planeswalker. It gets the job done for virtually no cost at all. It's fantastic. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Absolutely. You really can't beat 1 mana, 3 damage. It kills most things in Modern that are threatening, and enables various types of decks. And if you're playing red, there's a good chance you're playing Lightning Bolt.
Right. Burn is one of my favorite archetypes, and, you know, what's the best card in Burn? It's Lightning Bolt.
That's very true.
It's just a fantastic card. I love the art on it, too. Both the newer ones and the originals. I just love it so much.
Absolutely. I've won many a game just going Bolt, Snap, Bolt in my Pyromancer deck, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Bolt, Snap, Bolt is a classic, yes.
Absolutely.
So that's a little rundown of our favorite cards. I hope you guys got some insight into the kind of player that we are based on our list. And if you got this far and you listened this far, I'd actually really like for you guys to comment down below what your favorite Magic cards are. Let us know, and we'll check it out.
Absolutely. It's always fun seeing what kind of players that listen to us, and seeing just how various the player base is in Magic, because that's the most fun about Magic the Gathering, is how much variety and different stuff you can do in Magic. That's always why it's the most fun to play.
Right. I mean, you can look at the top meta, but at the end of the day, a lot of players are super creative in the decks that they come up with, and the various versions of decks in the top meta that they like to play personally. So, yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for our first episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and if you want to hear some more, we're going to be trying to do this again very soon in the future. So if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe, not only for the podcast, but for some future deck tech videos in the future, as well as some other videos that we have in the works. So I want to thank you guys for watching.
Yep. Make sure to tip your valets and have a good day.